hours. So if you're in combat and you've been in, and see, that's what's hard to imagine. We look at things like the Civil War era, and I was fascinated by that growing up. 3 days at Gettysburg, how terrible it was. 42 days in the Meuse-Argonne. Can you imagine? And you put a division in line, it'd go through this maelstrom, and after 6, 8 days, a third of the guys are dead or wounded or casualties. You pass another division through to continue the offensive, continue the attack. And that's what they did in the Argonne. And it's incredible to think, how do people do that and keep doing that? They do it for each other. They always have. Yeah.
Was that standard equipment that they were issued?
The gas mask, yeah, everybody had one.
How about now? Do people?
No.
They don't. I mean,
No. Unless they suspect that they're going to have the known exposure, you don't carry it. But now it's to the extreme, the big issue is the body armor against the IEDs.
I believe in Desert Storm, didn't they have something?
They had to carry it then because we were sure the first part of it, Desert Shield, Desert
They just
Storm.
scurried around to get their gas mask on.
We were sure Saddam was going to use it on us. Yeah, exactly right. But nowadays, no. They're not routinely. It's available, they have them there, but they don't carry them on the person at all times. This one here, we showed about the fellow with the eye injury. This is a veteran here in the 70s, the collector, to whom it may concern. The World War I Marine Corps uniform to which this paper refers was purchased directly by me from Mr. Vern Shute in the spring of '75. I also had several conversations with him about his wartime experiences. Here are some of the things he told me. Comment on the back. The gas mask bag has his name and another man's name on it. That's because he picked it up on the battlefield at Soissons when his own gas mask was shot off by a bullet or shell fragment. So it's interesting, there's that fellow, here he is in World War I uniform, and this actually, here is his gas mask. And it does indeed have the other soldier's name, the Marine's name on it. And the gas card, this is where they were supposed to keep track of the exposure because the filter needed to be changed every 12 hours. This is the other man's name. So the dead man's name is still on the card, and Vern Shute brought this home as his souvenir, saved his life.
And how much does all this weigh?
These things are about 6, 8 pounds.
But then he has a whole other pack too?
You've got everything else too, yeah. And ideally, you've got 2 bandoliers of rifle ammunition that's 60 rounds each. So that'll be about 10, 15 more pounds. If you start adding it up, it's going to be about 40, 50 pounds. What's frustrating in the modern day, you think, well, we know how to do much better. With all that body armor, that can be 80 to 90 pounds of equipment that our guys are having to carry now. And see, tragically, that's part of the reason they're coming back, and they all have chronic back pain. So you have a 26-year-old with chronic back pain that we're going to have to deal with the rest of his life. It's amazing the challenges these guys face. And don't forget, this is just to remind, they had to fight it. These are the guys from Riflemen been in the trenches, and it's showing them with the gas mask on. So after you get that situated, it may be hours of having to fight in a gas mask. And the frustrating thing in World War I, typically they would just take it off and see if they could smell anything. It's like, is it clear? Is it clear? So it's hard to imagine doing that day after day. These are the other gas masks that just had the inscriptions though, and I thought it was wonderful to think about the American values that have been and still are. This is a 28th Division. They called it the Bloody Bucket. They were Pennsylvania National Guard. He wrote the battles that he had fought in here, his units here. And see, the way the gas mask could be worn, that would be facing out. This at the ready means it's right under the face, ready to be folded back. And if it's folded back open, he's got inscribed in here, take me back to those I love, back to my little sweetheart Annie. And you think about it, he's lived with that day in and day out. He made it into his own souvenir. Here's another one that was a 77th Division guy, fellow in the ammunition train. And this one he inscribed, next to the gal, this is my best pal. And then this one here, though, it kind of summarized the whole thing. This is another one of those 28th Division. He's written on it, got his name and unit. And on the inside he says, a very good friend. And he's added underneath the inscription, a very good friend, he says, once, but worthless now. And you know, that's in a sense the ultimate success is this got me through and I'm done with it. Yeah.
Could a bullet penetrate those?
Oh yeah, and if these things got damaged, you were the worse for wear.
And it would explode?
Oh no, it just wouldn't work. Yeah, the hoses could get cut, the filters could just wear out. You could end up having it damaged by whatever kind of projectile. And if it gets damaged, you gotta get another. But the tragic truth, if there's a lot of them lying around, you just get another one, like Vernon Shute did. This is the uniform they wore, and I just always like to bring this because this is body armor in World War I. This is it. A war uniform. This is your protection. And if it gets wet, like in the armpit or the crotch area, the same those bridges, that's going to end up getting infected by the mustard gas. And this fellow here was in 21st Field Artillery, 5th Division. And that's what I love about it. All of this stuff is identified, whose it was. It tells a story, and that's what we want to do as a museum, is to perpetuate what they saw and did and went through, what their memories were. We think about how so many are damaged by the gas and being exposed during World War I, but I just always like to put in a plug as a physician, though, the reminder, this does a whole lot more damage long-term than that exposure. And so many of those veterans that did smoke the rest of their lives, the COPD was that much worse, the lung disease, from the gas exposure during the war and then perpetually poisoning themselves with cigarettes. But they did it then, they do it now. I love this one, the reminder that the Americans fight for the souvenirs. This artillery crew, and he's got the German flare pistols. These guys, in the midst of all of this, are gathering up German stuff, bringing it home. Amazing. Carrying all that in this tube. And just to remember, it wasn't just the gas, and this is showing the bilateral amputee. He's lost both of his legs. And we've come a long way in rehabilitating our wounded since then. Praise God. But it shows him on the little cart using the weights to drag himself forward so he can ambulate. He gets around on the cart, and there's his buddies visiting him. And it's just a reminder, again, how do they do such things? They do it together, they do it for us, and when they're there in that moment, they're doing it for each other. Any other comments? I sure appreciate the chance to talk and share all of this. And it's exciting to me because, man, they're my heroes. And we're coming up now on that 100-year anniversary to remember what these guys went